Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to see you. New faces, old faces, we're happy you're here. Today I want to talk about how do we hold on to our precious moments, not lose them, and how do we keep them to feed our souls today, whether it's a week later, a year later, 40 years later. How do we hold on to our eternal moments? And I want to start off with this quote from the Psalms. This is Psalm 77, verses 11 to 12. I will remember the works of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your wonders of old. I will reflect on all you have done and ponder your mighty deeds. I didn't even think of this, but it just reminds me of the song, because in the song it was, I sought the Lord, and he heard and he answered, and because of that, I will trust in God. So if we can look in our lives and find the moments where God has done something really incredible, or really beautiful, or touched our heart, or we touched God's heart, and we remember them, they can continue to feed our soul throughout our life. A couple weeks ago, I talked about going back to the basics, and I shared some experiences of times in my life where I felt I had touched God's heart of the joy of creation, God's heart of sorrow at our separation from God and the situation of the world, and God's heart of just never giving up on us to the end. And it was so fascinating because after church that day, I had numerous people come up to me and they said, I remember when I had a prayer like that. I was 20 years old and it's kept me going for 40 years. Or I had an experience once where I felt like I was one with it was like transcendence. I was like one with God and one with the universe, and I was not separate from you and you weren't separate from me. And I remember it like it was yesterday. So I know I'm not the only one. But also, I could tell that for some people, they maybe hadn't thought about this in quite a while. But I think it's valuable to revisit. And I have some, like a little checklist of things to do to help us really cement these moments and memories, to keep them present for us, and to let them help guide our future. So I'm going to list them off briefly ahead of time. I'm going to go through them and recap them. But the first step is to recall. So first, just to remember, what was it? And then to replay. Replay, what was it that led up to this? What happened? How did I feel afterwards? Did I do anything afterwards? Record it. So, write it down. Share and ask. So not only, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it in community. And to keep mementos. So the first one is to recall. Especially, I was thinking, we have all of our One Heart participants came back last night. It's supposed to be afternoon, but the flights get delayed, and eventually we pick them up, and it was so wonderful to have all of our One Heart kids come back and to see their bright faces, and I can tell. Of course, the kids are all talkative afterwards. I had these people in my team, and this person was so awesome, and we had so much fun at talent night. But I can tell that there was more that happened there that wasn't just fun. It was really deep, right? So this message is also for those of you who were at One Heart to take these experiences that you just had and that are fresh, and to help. It's easy as life continues, right? As things happen, those things kind of take your focus and your energy, and not that your memories aren't important or they didn't mean a lot to you, but they can kind of fade. So especially while it's fresh for you One Heart participants, take some time while it's fresh to recall. First step is recall. Recall the sights, the sounds, the smells, the physical sensations of the moment. I remember when I didn't go to a lot of workshops. I lived really far away, didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't do a lot of things. But the times when I did go and spend time with other people in community in God's presence, I always, at some point, had some really meaningful either conversation with my peers or prayer or just feeling of connection that felt different than anything I had felt before. So if this is your case, let's cement it. So recall it. Was it nighttime? Were you outside? Was the air cool? Or was somebody baking something delicious in the kitchen and you could smell it and it was a part of your experience? Or did somebody hug you and you felt completely embraced and accepted? And for those of you who these memories are a long time ago, just take a minute and recall. I remember one of these prayers I had. This was already like 15 years ago, but we were in Denver. I was in this park, Paco Sanchez Park, but it wasn't fun then. It was just empty space. But I remember the darkness, and I remember it was nighttime prayer, and I remember it was cool, and I remember the grass. And then I remember the sprinklers came on and interrupted everybody's prayer. We were all like running, screaming back to the band. Ah! But I can remember that like yesterday, because those were like, it's not just the experience, but it's everything surrounding it. So take a moment and replay it. Next, it's important to record it. When we were on our missions program, every day we had to write a reflection, and I got very tired of doing it. Like, do I have to learn something meaningful every day? Like, why do I have to write this down? But I also realized that it was very valuable, because when I did have something that struck me or was important and I wrote it down, it was much easier for me to remember what exactly happened. So if you have a journal, everybody's got their cell phones now. Right now, all I do is I have like a little notes app, and I just open my notes app and I type in what I don't want to forget. But all the studies say, if you write down something, it's like 90% more likely to stick. Or even if you write down a goal, if even if it hasn't happened yet, but if you want it to happen and you write it down, it's much more likely to happen. So write it down. This is a quote from our founder, Reverend Moon, which is helpful. Therefore, in your life of faith, you should not just let the grace you received in the past slip by. As you walk the path of faith, you will encounter lax times without realizing it. When that occurs, you can deal with the present reality by taking your past life of faith as your subject partner. And so in our faith, we often talk about subject partner and object partner. It's technical, but basically everything is in relationship. But in a relationship, there's a side that initiates, and then when the other side receives that, they can return it, right? So it's something has to start it, though. So they're saying take your past life as like the starting point of something new. Read again the diaries you wrote in the past. Or reflect on what you experienced during your prayers when your life was filled with grace. You need to revive the heart you had at that time and repeat what you did back then. Then you can make a resolution with a motivation even greater than you had in the past. If you just came back from One Heart and you didn't write it down yet, do it. But there are many other people here who are not at One Heart this week, and I have words for you too. You need to write your memoirs. Yes, we all need to take the experiences that we've had in our life and record them. I know a lot of people who are now publishing them, and I think I shared recently, I read Roland Platt's memoirs. He was the director of STF and GPA for 20 years. And it's so precious to read people's stories. But even if you don't publish it, your kids and your grandkids are going to want to know who you were and what you did in your life and where they come from. And as they read your stories, they're going to find things that they resonate with, like, oh, that's the kind of silly mistake I would have made, or that's the kind of wise decision I can learn from. So record your precious moments. Next is to share and to ask. For those of you who just came back from One Heart, share with your parents. I know sometimes it's awkward and it's hard. I'll be honest, a lot of times I didn't share the deep experiences I had with my parents. And probably they're listening to these messages online and like, I never knew that was happened, or I'm sharing them now. But it's in the retelling that it actually becomes more real for you as well. If you have because many times these experiences are not simple to explain. It's not like you can just write a sentence like, oh, I felt God today, and that encompasses it, right? A lot of times there's many layers to it. There's your past that's being, like, maybe it's trauma that's being healed by it. Maybe it's a new inspiration you have, and it takes time to actually figure out what exactly your experience was and what it means to you. And when we can articulate it to other people, it actually helps us understand what happened better. Also, is there someone to thank? I've been caught in the trap sometimes of feeling like, oh, this was my special moment, it was just me and God, my prayer. But I have to be humble and realize that I didn't come to that place by myself, right? There were people who were pouring into me, or who created the environment, who organized One Heart, who were thinking of me and praying for me before I ever got to that point. So who do I need to thank? Because in our expressing of our gratitude, we can actually receive more grace, and we pass that on to the people that we're thanking. I have, a few times in the last 10, 20 years, I've been contacted out of the blue by somebody that I was taking care of back on my missions program, or even somebody from like elementary school. And they just said, thank you for being there for me in this hard time. I didn't know who I was or what I was doing, but you believed in me. And I am incredibly touched. Because in the moment, I feel like I know there's something happening, but I don't know how they're experiencing it. But it's like, no, God really was there. So did someone see your heart and help you feel God's love? Was there somebody that you went through just a really hard time of your life with, and they kept walking with you until you were through it? Recalling who was there and what part they played helps us to have humility and feel even more grateful for our experience. Here's another quote from our founder. I always remember when someone helps me, no matter how small it may be. Even now that I am 90 years old, I can recite from memory all the times that people helped me and what they did for me. I can never forget the people who did not hesitate to put themselves to great trouble on my behalf and generously gave me their blessings. If I receive a favor, it is important to me that I repay it. So you can repay it back to them by thanking them or doing something for them, but you can also repay by paying it forward. Right? You can, if you have received grace from somebody, if somebody walked with you through a tough time, if somebody cared enough, to give you something really special, then it helps us recognize I can do that for other people too. We can pay it forward. Another point is, and this is simple, but I realize it's actually important, is to keep mementos, a photograph or a souvenir or some object from that experience or that time. And not only keep them and put them in your wallet or tuck it away, but put it somewhere where you remember it, because whenever you see it, it will bring you back to that precious moment. I Googled online, what does the Bible have to say about souvenirs? Or mementos? Actually, there's quite a few times in the Bible where after a really incredible moment or transformative experience, usually people, especially in the Old Testament, built something. To mark an altar, this happened here at this time. I have one of the stories to share with you. This is, the story of Jacob and Esau, right? Isaac was the father, who was Abraham's son and had received God's blessing that your descendants will be as numerous as the stars, and it was to be carried out through their lineage. And then Isaac gave Jacob the birthright, the younger brother, but then he had to run away because Esau was not happy about it. And his dad told him to go to his uncle Laban's house. So here's part of the story. After Isaac gave Jacob the birthright and he was on his way to his uncle Laban's house, Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. What a promise. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until you have done what I promised you. I would love to hear God tell me that. It's like such a big promise. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God. And this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And all that you give me, I will give you a tenth. So he couldn't take the stone with him. Too big of a souvenir. But he set it up and was like, this is the place, and I will be back. God has promised me, and he anointed it with oil. And this was also not only like a memory or an inspiration, but he also got a determination out of this. He said, based on, like, even though he hadn't received anything yet, even though he was actually kind of being exiled, even though he was heading towards 21 years of hard labor on his uncle's land to be tricked and like sold out, even though his brother was going to send an army to go kill him. Despite all this, he said, because you have promised this, and without any evidence that it's going to happen yet, I am going to commit a tenth of everything that I receive back to you. So he had a determination out of this experience. So this might look different for you, probably not a stone that you anoint with oil, but maybe I saw one of my kids brought back a photograph from One Heart, and I was like, how'd you get a photo in this day and age? Like, an actual picture. They were like, we're the only team that got our photo. That's like that's something, a memento, right? You can keep it, and you can put it up and remember, like, this was the time that I had this experience. I changed a part in my message, and I forgot to actually change it. So when I said share, right, to share, I also said to share and ask, right? Ask, A-S-K. Yes. So it's our responsibility to share the experiences that we've had, that it, like, in some ways it makes it more real. But also we can ask others about their experiences. You can ask your friends. You can also ask your parents or your grandparents. And you can even look in genealogical records and find out, what are the stories of my ancestors? It was interesting. I met up with Catherine and Nobuyuki this last week. And somehow we talked about ancestors, and I mentioned about how in my mother's ancestry, there was a lot of actually like ministers in New England, and they were kind of very progressive and a little bit blasphemous ministers that had crazy ideas about like having an original nature. And I was, without knowing that, now that I know that, I'm like, okay, I never wanted to be a pastor. I never thought I would be. But somehow, there's something there that can kind of like, lead me on this path. But without knowing, right, my genealogy, without my mom doing all this research, then I wouldn't there's a connection that I have and an understanding I have because of it. So it's also helpful to ask or to seek to understand the experiences of our parents, our ancestors, our friends, because really these experiences are what shapes people's lives. We're not just born into a certain set of circumstances and live according to those circumstances. Where we are now, unfortunately, many times is shaped by the trauma we've experienced, right? We've built defensive walls, or we act a certain way to avoid pain. But also, the good transformative experiences we have lead us to maybe our career or our passions or the way that we treat other people. And so we might think we know somebody by being with them or just talking with them. But when you know their stories, then I feel like you really actually know them. So share and ask. But why do we do this, though? Do we just want to not forget? It's not just for the nostalgia. And I don't want people to just get caught up in thinking about the good old days, right? I feel like sometimes people just kind of live in that and be like, oh, I wish I could go back. You know, like those days are gone, never gonna have them again. And like kind of wishing they were there, but you have to be here. And so I don't encourage you to remember these memories so that you can be wistful about them. But these are for the purpose of serving your present growth, right? Just as your experiences will lead you on your path, and so have the experiences of your ancestors. Oh, wait. No, I lost it. Can you bring my PowerPoint back up, Mark? Sorry. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. So I feel like I'm one of the most blessed people because I have the opportunity every week to think about my life and to remember my experiences. You know, sometimes things happen in a week and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk. I learned something here. I'm going to share about it on Sunday. But sometimes I have to go back a little bit further. and it's my blessing to be able to reflect on my life and find like it's like points of light, like God was doing something here, and then examine it. What was that? What happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? What did I gain out of it? What in my life now is evidence that this happened? And what can I do now that will carry it forward? So these are the tips. First, recall. First, search for it. What was that moment? Find it. Replay it. Right? I realize sometimes I can remember that something happened, but I don't actually like immerse myself in it. Sometimes it's a good thing. I was asked yesterday about one of my cousins who passed away, and I had to talk about it really quickly because I knew if I sat with that too long that I wouldn't be able to talk about it anymore. But on the other hand, if there's good experiences, like sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I had like a God experience, and then we just continue talking, but sometimes it's good to sit with that and kind of like let ourselves be re-immersed. Where was it? When did it happen? What were the sights, the sounds, the smells? what were the things that led up to it, and what did I take away from it? Record it, right? Take some time to put it down somewhere, because in the writing or in the typing, we cement it, right? If we write something down, it's 90% more likely to stick with us. Share and ask, right? Don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with other people that you trust or you care about or could benefit from it. Because in our articulating it, even more than writing it, because people might ask questions, oh, well, how did that make you feel? Or, well, how did you make that decision? Then we go deeper into it. It actually helps us understand better when we share it. And ask others about their experiences, because we can learn lessons from them, and we can understand other people's hearts better too. And last, keep your mementos. Keep your souvenir, your photograph, friendship bracelet, pillar with oil. Right? Keep it somewhere where you can see it, because that keeps it fresh for us too. I'm excited for the futures of all of our One Heart participants. I know that there's always going to be ups and downs, but I know that there were experiences in this past week that you didn't have before you went that are going to feed your soul and feed your future. And for all the rest of us, right, let's recall, record, write your memoirs, share, because as I learned through hearing your stories a couple weeks ago, these are still very real moments for you too. And they can still feed us, they can still guide us today. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, thank you for another beautiful Sunday. Weeks pass by and we come together and we are reminded of you, and we're reminded of how you have been walking with us through all of these weeks and through the journey of our life. And you have seen us at our worst moments, and you have been extremely present in our best moments, sharing in those moments with us. And I pray that we don't take them for granted, and we don't just let them be glazed over as part of history. But we can see that you are working in our life. And not only have you worked in our past, but you are actively working to bring us into a bright future that you have set out for us. I pray that we can trust in you and know that you are alive and well in our life, Heavenly Parent. And that in recalling and recording and keeping mementos of these little moments along the way, we can be assured, we can be reminded, and we can have courage and strength to keep going, even if we don't feel that right now, even if we don't see where your path is taking us, but we can trust that it is good. Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for your constant love and guidance. And I offer this prayer in my name, Michael and Adonia Hendrick, a Blessed Family. Amen and adieu. Okay, thank you.